All right, so this is the time we call the Afterburn. All right, we're going to begin with Frederick.
You said, talking about the meeting of the sons of Elohim, like a boardroom meeting or something.
Exactly.
I've long thought about it as like a leadership council.
I mean, I don't want to think of it as a leadership council from the point of view, well, maybe, because even when we have our leadership councils, there's clear authority in the council.
Because in Job 38, the first question that Yahweh asked Job, was basically, where were you when I made the earth? And then in verse 7, it says, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. Now, in astronomy, the morning stars are the last lights that remain visible as the sun is becoming brighter in the sky. And those are generally planets.
Okay.
So when the planets and the sons of Elohim rejoiced when this place was being made, in the genealogy of Luke, it goes Yeshua being assumed to be the son of Joseph, and it goes all the way down to the bottom, Adam, who is the son of Elohim.
Right.
So if all those other sons of Elohims are the beginning created being on their planets, and they're in a council meeting with...
Okay, that's an interesting thought.
Now, so when Satan comes up there, he knows where all these sons are representing. He's invited them. Satan comes up there, and his first question to him is, so where do you come from? Where do you represent? From walking up and down the earth. I claim to represent the earth. So if the earth is yours, why isn't this person yours? Have you noticed my servant Job?
All right, I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at it. You know, I don't know that I'd have to think about it a whole lot more, but look, at least it's an interesting perspective, okay? The idea that, here's the thing that we don't know. We don't know exactly who a lot of these things that are referred to, like who are the sons of Elohim really? What else is going on in the quote unquote idea of in the heavens? Like, we know that the Father's there. We know the Son is there. We know other beings are there because we hear about the elders and this and that and the other ones that are there. And there's the certain beings that are mentioned in Revelation. So there are entities. And what are their purposes and how do they work and what happens? And at times there's rejoicing that's happening. Well, who's doing the rejoicing? So we're not given exactly details on all of these things. But when you see these meetings happening, they seem like they're regularly scheduled things that are happening and that Satan shows up. Now bear in mind, he's never thrown out saying, you don't belong here, what are you doing here, that you're not supposed to be in this meeting. So he is welcomed into the meeting. And so he has a role. So I think everybody in the meeting at the very least, regardless of where they came from, okay, as Frederick's kind of giving ideas of where they might have come from, they had a role, okay? And that's what I want you to understand more than anything else is Satan in the Job account has a role. And clearly in this leadership council or whatever it is that was going on this meeting, there was an authority being Elohim. Yahweh was clearly in charge, all right? And then these were others that were there reporting to him. Maybe they were giving reports about other things happening in the universe. Maybe there's other things happening in the universe. I'm not of this sort of myopic, egomaniac thing, thinking that we are necessarily the only things that exist in the universe. Okay, Yahweh can do whatever he wants, and as many planets as he wants, and as many galaxies as he wants, whatever he wants to do. I just know what he's doing with us here. This much. This much I know what he's doing with us here. What he's written in this book, what he's inspired, okay? So I'm certainly not gonna claim that we're the only things that exist. I don't know. I've never seen anybody else, okay? But that doesn't mean there isn't anybody else anywhere else that may be going on. So Frederick's idea that there's maybe a meeting where people are coming representing different places, that's an interesting concept. I'm not 100% against that as an idea. I'm not gonna teach that as my policy here, but I'm just saying, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. That kind of wasn't anything I've ever thought of. So Frederick, good, thank you for sharing that. I think it's an interesting idea.
So I had an idea when you were talking about the displeasure of Yahweh burned, and I was wondering if possibly what you thought about this, if that was another name maybe for HaSatan or another adversarial being or even a human being, like the voice of Yahweh is another name for Yeshua or a prophet, etc.
I like that. Let me think about that for a minute. So in case you missed what she was saying, when the phrase displeasure of Yahweh comes up, maybe that refers to like HaSatan. Just like the way, it talks about things in a different way, that's talking about Yeshua. So this idea of the displeasure of Yahweh, or the voice, right? There's the voice of Yahweh. Is the voice of Yahweh a being? Or is it like literally just his voice? Is the displeasure of Yahweh then something that is another way of referring to HaSatan? That might be a great way of looking at it. Let me think on that one too. I got yours and Frederick's to work on, okay? I kind of like that.
We're
okay?
being good disciples.
Yeah, but the main point that I wanted to make, though, is not affected by that, which is that it still came from Yahweh. All right? He's still the one that initiates whatever that is. So I'm not against, I think I even hinted at it when we got to Samuel to read what Chronicles said then in Samuel. I said, I think at some point that it doesn't mean he did not then use someone like Satan to go take it and play this out. But it said his displeasure burned, and then whatever then he used to then pour out that displeasure. But I think the idea of it being a sort of a nickname phrase for the one that does his bidding in that way, that might work. It may be interesting. Okay, just remember though, it's his displeasure, not Satan's displeasure. Okay? Right, go ahead.
And then I just want to tell you I appreciate the message of empowerment that you've taught us, in all your teachings. And you said it again today, and it's just it helps us, I believe it helps us know that we can have an abundant life and not have to wait for somebody else, It's a lot of times our perspective or what we're willing to do, in that respect. So I want to thank you for pointing that out again today. And then regarding the integrity question.
Wait, hold on. I want to just emphasize a point about empowerment. I think that is his greatest desire, is that we are empowered, okay? He wants us to recognize the power he has given us to be, to create, to grow, to make things happen, to manifest, okay? So he brought you into this existence so that you can not only integrity, the other things you're going to talk about, but to empower us. You can't have integrity if you don't have any power, okay? So I love that you brought that up, but I want you to understand, you were born into this world ultimately in some form or another to demonstrate what it means to be empowered from above, okay? Beautiful, go ahead, next.
Okay, and then when you were talking about integrity and that the elderly, I shouldn't say elderly, I'm sorry, the couple that you were speaking of where the one who thought he would die first, and it reminded...
They were elderly to me back then when I was 35.
Yeah, they're not elderly anymore. Yeah. So it reminded me of Hannah and her sons in the Maccabees and how they had their tongues cut out and were skinned alive instead of eating pork. And as a mother, I can't imagine. It just makes me want to cry to even think about it. To watch my children being tortured, for their integrity. But I mean, I guess in that respect, she knew that they were serving a purpose with their integrity.
Yep. Yep.
So
but also she also had to know, as all of us should know, this is not everything, right? This life is not everything. As a matter of fact, in the spectrum of forever and everything else, I mean, this is a fraction of a drop of a fraction of a drop. I mean, this is just a little piece of time of our existence, okay, potentially, right? So she knew, all right, so this life is going to end in a very ugly way for my sons, but it's all about, that's a great story for the integrity though. I mean, read that in the Maccabees, right? This is in 2nd Maccabees, I believe, okay? and it's Hannah and her sons, and how they were basically brought to the temple to be said, eat this pork or we're going to skin you alive and boil you in oil. Now, the first one was bad enough, because the first one might not have believed them, whether they're going to really do it. But the second one is watching the first one have it done to him, and still then when it's his turn, knows exactly what's coming, and still, so it's even more integrity on the second one. Because the first one might not think they're really going to do it. Second one saw them do it. I mean, they're lined up, and what level? That's proof again that no one can make you. They tried to make them eat pork, telling them, eat this or we're going to skin you and boil you. I can't think of anything more horrific, more painful than that, And I don't think that they died after the skinning, because otherwise the boiling seems kind of pointless. You know what I mean? I mean, really, the whole point is they had to be alive through this whole terrible, this unbelievable torture. But the integrity was to realize you can't make me do anything, okay? And I know this isn't everything. Somehow you have to get that. I don't care what your infirmity is or what your issues are and what your health issues are and what other miserable things are going on in your life. It's only as miserable as it is because you don't think there's more. You're not really embracing that this is only what it is. It's just this, all right? This is not everything. And so this may not be all that fun for you right now. Maybe miserable, maybe pain, and maybe this or that or whatever it is, negative. But this is only part of it. It's not the whole thing. And when I say part of it, I mean like the tiniest bit, okay? It's not much, all right? So, just, kind of get that perspective. So thank you for bringing that out there, because I think that's the perspective that people need to have.
Yeah, and really what you've taught us is that perspective is huge.
Everything.
That we can have the same situation happen and look at it a different way and really change everything about how we feel about it. So thank you for that. And my last thing I want to say is that I pray the Father strengthen my integrity, especially when I think about the martyrs in Revelation. That is something that has been my prayer for even before I started walking with Yeshua in Christianity. When I read Revelation as a secular person, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how am I ever gonna be fearless enough to withstand, that? So I feel like the test that the Father has been putting me through, in my life and has kind of sped up more tests since I've been here. I've been passing some of the tests, a lot of the tests actually.
And I know,
so,
I've seen the report card.
You've been a catalyst for many of my tests, Rabbi, so thank you for being you. And I have been passing, and I know that I need to cling, cleave, and hold fast, and that's how I'm going to get through it. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate you and all your teachings and what Yahweh is doing through you in this ministry. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I mean, look, we got to get the right perspective on all this, and it's going to take a little bit, but, we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Okay, so I just had two questions. Number one, you said the dragon has a certain meaning. What's the meaning of dragon?
The Greek word there is drakon. It means either dragon, as we picture today, or a huge serpent.
A huge
serpent. So like ophis would be referring to more of an idea of what we'd see as a snake.
Right.
Okay. The idea of a serpent being things that are, they could swallow people. Okay, these this huge serpent as opposed to just a snake.
Okay.
Okay.
So
it doesn't necessarily mean dragon with the wings and blowing fire and everything.
Right. No,
but it can be. It's
I meant because you said the serpent. You told what each thing represents back there. I'm not going to go over it again.
Right.
You said the serpent represents a certain characteristics.
No, I didn't say that the serpent. I said the word ophis means snake
and the devil
or artful, malicious person.
Right.
Okay.
And
that's what that Greek word means.
Yeah. So I wanted to know if you're saying that a dragon, serpent, or devil can be used as Satans?
Well, he's trying to use it in that one sentence in Revelation 12:9. He's saying, he's using all four of those words to describe the one being. Okay?
Okay, so they can be set up as blocks that
Right.
God could use any aspects of those.
So he
as
says,
blocks.
he said the great dragon was thrown out. And that great dragon is the serpent of old, which we also call the devil and Satan. So he used all four words to describe the one being, okay? Because people may picture this being in any of those four different ways or any combination. So he's trying to just make sure this is clear. Well, the one I'm talking about is the one that was the great serpent of old, and the one you call Satan and the devil, that's the one that got thrown out, okay?
Got it.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Good questions. Look, I like people ask clarifying questions, you know?
I wanted to. I mean, has been really eye-opening
Actually,
to me.
I have to say, this is kind of a joke, but this is kind of something really happened. It just has, I just said there's a joke. I said, look, if you listen to part one, you really don't have, the right to ask questions, part two. That was a joke, but you know what? Years ago, we had a congregation in Nashville, okay? And we had one in Knoxville, Nashville, and Chattanooga, all at the same time. It was like 2000, 2001, something like that. And there was a lady that did not like, she was very Christian, did not like what I was teaching. And so as soon as I got up to teach, she would leave the room and go to the kitchen where they were getting oneg stuff prepared, whatever. She would just go into the kitchen, right? And I could tell, because I'm standing here, I could see what everybody's doing, right? So I'm standing and I could see her get up and walk out. Then we get to this part of the teachings. I did this back then too. I didn't call it the Afterburn, but we took questions. She would come strolling out to say something. And I literally did say to her at one point, I said, look, I'm sorry, I am not interested. I don't think that you have the right to be standing up here asking questions when you didn't have the integrity and respect to sit in here and listen to the teaching, okay? Because I knew she wasn't dealing with some health issue and she just couldn't sit. She just didn't like me and wasn't gonna sit in for the teaching. And then wanted to come out here and throw these stupid bombs at me that showed she didn't listen to teaching either. So, I mean, I have done that at times. I said, look, I'm sorry. You're not going to sit in here and listen to it. I don't want to hear your questions, okay? Because I knew what she was doing, okay? Now, I know some of you do have to get up at times, all right? And have to, look, Olivia was here. It was so great to have her here, and then she wasn't able to stay because it's hard for her to sit through the whole thing. So she goes home, and she's watching now, I know, and everything like that. So I know why she's not here. So I also knew why this lady wasn't. So I did literally tell her, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in your questions. You weren't interested in listening, then I don't know what you're listening to. We didn't have it playing somewhere else. It wasn't streaming on any internet. If she was not in the room, she didn't hear it. You understand what I'm saying? We didn't have internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. Nothing was being broadcast. The room was all there was, and we were recording it on audio tape, okay? And so I know she didn't hear it because you weren't in the room, you couldn't hear it. But she'd come in and want to, no. But anyway, I know you're fine. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was upstairs with the kids. That's why I didn't listen.
That's okay.
Rabbi, Numbers 22:32, where you were talking about how one reason why Yahweh, will use Satan in our lives is because our way is reckless. So that really hit me because I literally was not doing well this past week, 1 day or 2 days, I don't know what it was. And literally he sent something to oppose my way. I mean, like, you know how we had a lot of rain?
Mm-hmm.
We had flooding and his rain was really bad. And I thought it was something else, but it ended up being a log. And I couldn't go anymore. And this is so humbling, Rabbi. This is so, so humbling. I see why Yahweh did that, and because I have not talked to my husband very well, and guess what? He humbled me so much that I had to call him and say, "Hey, can you come and help me?" I love when he does that because I knew I was wrong, and I should have prevented that because he didn't have to send Satan. See, this is my lesson from today is that a lot of times we know we're in the wrong, we just keep doing it, right?
So the situation made you do something you didn't want to do, but you needed to do it, so it forced you to get over yourself
Over my stupidity,
and
yes.
get it done. That's beautiful.
Praise Yah. I just wanted to share that because
Well, I want to
literally,
praise Yah that you understood that, like you got that out of it, like
Yeah.
right away, like you saw that. That's good.
yes, and it just opened my eyes. And then after that, things were well. I apologize, he apologized, and we've been doing well. But I mean, I know that there's so many times that I can be so stubborn in, not with that, with other things too, and keep wanting to keep going when I know it's wrong.
Right.
So I really appreciated your prayer at the end when you said, give us the discernment to know when we need to stop something or we're just being tested,
Right.
My question was about slandering, because you did talk about it at the beginning, like opposing, obstructing, slandering. Even in that situation, should we also try to look and see if there's any truth to that? Like if we should be changing our behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, look, if something comes up that describes or points out something not nice about you or about something you did, or the first question you should always ask is, I wonder if it's true. I shouldn't just react in an ego response, pride response of defensiveness. I mean, I might not like the way it was brought to my attention. I might not like the way it was presented. But at least I could first go, I wonder if it's true, okay? But when people say things and spread things that are not true, okay? I mean, like people saying that I use tithe money to buy houses. I mean, this is not true, but it's still being spread. That's slander, okay? Now, of course, I can't sue the people because I'm a public figure. It kind of makes it tough to do, since you can almost say anything you want about a public figure. That's sad, unfortunate. All right, but that is slander. So the thing is, you have to first ask the question. So it was simple enough when the person said that. I was like, well, I know I didn't do that, okay? But some things are not so simple. Someone might say and accuse you of doing something or saying something to them or being mean to them in some way, and you have to go, whoa, wait, did I do that? You might want to think about it and not just have that knee-jerk, defensive, pride, ego response, okay, to lash back out because you don't like that they got in your face. Especially if they point out something that is true, then sometimes you don't like that you got to point out that it was true. That's, again, that pride and ego. But you should be humble enough to say, I wonder if that's true. Elder has to deal with this all the time. People call him, email him about things they don't like that I said or whatever, and he'll have to say, hold on. But was what Rabbi said, was it true though? And they'll have to be like, well, yeah, I just didn't like the way he said it. I said, okay, well, let's first work with that it was true, okay? And so you shouldn't worry, all of you. Don't worry about how something is delivered to you. Don't worry about the form. Worry about the substance. Is the substance true? You can always discuss with the person that, yes, I appreciate it was true, but I really would appreciate using a little bit different form. The form kind of hurt my feelings or whatever. But at least first accept and deal with that they brought to your attention something that was true, okay? And you can then fix it instead of getting your feelings all hurt because you don't like the way it was said, okay? Or you're embarrassed or you're ashamed and you don't want, that's all pride and ego and that's nonsense. We got to elevate above that, okay? We got to elevate above it, okay?
Thank you. That's good. Can I ask you one more, Rabbi?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about us being opposing, like in an authority level, like me to my husband or towards you, whatever, something maybe that you or them want to do. Okay, so that role, we can play that HaSatan role. The adversarial role is when I understanding.
Everybody can be a HaSatan in a situation to somebody. We all can, okay? If you are accusing, if you're an adversary, if you're opposing, if you're obstructing, you're kind of doing that, okay? We all are doing that at times to people. And sometimes we're doing it in a good way, meaning it's serving Yah. Sometimes we're just not. We're serving ourselves and we're just obstructing and opposing and we need to, that's not good, okay? Don't presume that you're doing things and you're doing it on behalf of the Almighty, because that might not be the case most of the time, all right?
And that can be not just within a vertical alignment, but even
look, you can be that way with a friend, you can be that way with a child, you can be that way with your boss or somebody at work or a coworker. Again, opposing, obstructing, accusing, adversarial behavior, okay, these are all Satan devil, whatever these other words we talked about, like behaviors, okay?
So I have a question. I am trying to get everything straight in my head. When HaSatan is in front of Yahweh and Yahweh is talking to him about Job, and you said he had it backwards almost. Like, well, you know, he had, what did you say?
Well, I said was that Satan was basically saying he does all this good stuff because you already give him.
Yes, that's okay.
As opposed to you bless him because he does all this good stuff.
Yes, okay. So correct me if this is a Christian way of thinking. I'm trying to get all that out of me. But I am wondering if this also, it sounds like it's like a bitterness almost.
Sure.
Is he saying all those things because he is, you know, very bitter about his punishment? Or his job, or HaSatan? Like, is he bitter about his job, or is he bitter about, okay.
No, I think if anything, he's bitter because he's got nothing he can accuse.
Okay, so it's more bitterness towards Job than Yahweh.
Look, if I give you the job to do something, whatever it is, and there's nothing to do, and you really can't do anything, you know, you'd be like, you know, I mean, let's say I send you as a plumber to fix something, but it works fine. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you're wasting my time. I can't do anything, you know. And he's like, well, your job is to go find people to accuse. What do you think of Job? He goes, I don't like Job. I can't accuse him of anything. So That's where the bitterness comes out.
Okay.
My job is to find all that stuff to point my finger at.
Okay.
So most of you make HaSatan very happy.
Oh, no.
You got lots of stuff you can go, well, look at that, and look at that, and look at that. Okay, Job frustrated him.
Okay,
because he got nothing he can do. He was given the job of being Satan, adversary, accuser. And so he's going up and down around the earth looking for those he can accuse.
Okay, and
then he goes, well, what about Job? He's like, I got nothing I can say about Job. So I'm going to get mad, and I'm going to say, well, that's because you spoil him.
Okay.
Okay? Because Satan doesn't want to believe anybody's righteous and has integrity.
Is it because, again, this might be very Christian. Is it because he screwed up? Or
Well, get to any verses that talk about that, because some of them are not really, some of them, again, don't necessarily talk about that. We've always believed those verses talk about that, but not necessarily, okay?
Okay, I will wait.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's not to say that can't be true, but certainly at the very minimum, if your job is to find something wrong with something and you can't, that might be a little frustrating because people are expecting you to find something wrong with it, right?
I appreciated what Janet said about Yahweh opposing her. And I forgot to take a note on that when you were talking about it. Especially that prayer was really good when you were saying, giving us the discernment to know when he's opposing us, for us to pay attention to something, or if it's something we need to press through, which is always my prayer when I get opposed. So I just want to say, you were talking about last night.
Oh, wait, I just had a thought. Hold that thought. Did you notice that nowhere in that prayer did I say to ask him to take the obstruction away? Did you notice that? Okay. Is it blocking me for a reason, or is it something I'm supposed to push through? Nowhere is there the request to remove it, because it has a purpose. It either is there to push your strengthening you as you push through it, or to get your attention to stop you so you don't go that way anymore. But you guys mostly go the other way. You know, option 3. You pray, please take this obstacle away. Notice I never said that. Okay, that's important. Pay attention to that. Nowhere was there the part of the prayer that said, take the obstacle away. Is this something I push through, or something that's supposed to stop me in my tracks to take a different direction? All right, go ahead.
So last night when you were talking about Yahweh being a good father and that he'll let us know the reason for our consequences right away. And so I was thinking it also reminds me of when he opposes us, you know, that he normally lets us know right away, just like Janet experienced. And it's happened to me so many times sometimes I don't find out until later. I'm real frustrated, and then I found out later he was protecting me from something. But oftentimes when I have the obstruction, I look up and I'm like, okay, Father, you're trying to tell me something? And then immediately he'll tell me, because you didn't do this or you didn't do that, or you need to repent of this, or you need to, like she said, call somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and so I really appreciate that he is a good father like that and really leads us, you know, if we pay attention. You know, we got to
If we
pay attention.
attention, yeah.
And look up and be like, okay, Father, what are you trying to tell me? So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you talking about that last night, and I felt like, you know, I could tie it into what you were talking about today too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.